Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Good. I'd like to call our 5 panelists, then we can start today's session. In no particular order, Yoav Izar-Prato from Kensho. Avishai Avrahami from Wix. Chagai Tal from Plimus. Roy Ramati from Magento. And Eli Campo from LivePerson. Welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us. We have 5 of the most successful Israel or Israeli-related internet companies, all of whom have built established businesses, built brands, have presumably very happy customers. There's a lot in common among the 5 companies today, but there also have differences. And I'm going to ask different questions to different people, but feel free to chime in or to ask each other questions if you feel they're appropriate. Let me just start by asking each one of you to introduce yourselves so that the audience has a better sense of what company you represent. So you can just give a few sentences, what your company, what your product offering is, your business model, and maybe share a few statistics to give all of us a sense of the scale of your organization or business. Yoav?
Thank you very much. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Yoav. I'm a CEO and founder of a company called Kensho. As I said yesterday, I'm a proud father to 4 kids and married to Yael, my wife. I'll start by asking Chagai to give us a promise that this will happen next year as well. I've been around, and this is just impressive to see what was pulled together. So kudos. All right. She's your answer. Anyway, Kensho is...
We'll do it again. I can't promise it's going to be next year, but we'll do it again.
Okay, that's good enough. So kudos to the Plimus team. Kensho, what started small back at 2006 due to frustration that we had around promoting websites over the web. We were trialing different technologies, nothing worked for us, and we decided to do something about it, and this is what you see as Kensho today. This is a 3 business unit operation, so this is Kensho Enterprise, Kensho Local, and Kensho Social. It's a software as a service, pure play, into the high end of the industry. We are blessed by Target, Walmart, Sears, Walgreens, Tesco as clients, as well as eBay, Zappos, Groupon, as well as some top agencies. We're very proud to power 22 of the Fortune 50 today. The company is 225 in size, spread between Australia, London, Israel, and all over the US. And for now, things are going very well, backed by Sequoia Capital and Arts Alliance, and that's Kensho.
Great, thank you. Avishai?
Hi, my name is Avishai Avrahami, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Wix.com. Wix was founded at the end of 2006 for the purpose of allowing everybody to create beautiful websites. And since then, we managed to get 13 million customers. We're adding about 1.2 million every month. Recently, well, until today, till last year, we actually had mostly website for the web, Flash websites. We just released 2 new products for creating mobile websites that enabling everybody to put beautiful websites the way they want them on smart devices, and Facebook fan pages creation, so you can create and design your own Facebook fan page. In addition to that, Wix today has 220 people working in the company, and it's spread on 3 offices, Israel, New York, and San Francisco.
Okay, my name is Roy Rubin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Magento. So for those that don't know, Magento is the fastest growing e-commerce platform in the world. We work with about 100,000 plus merchants globally and service them with about $25 billion of annual sales running on our platform. We're headquartered in Los Angeles, California, with offices in Argentina, in the Ukraine, in Brussels, in Ireland, about 320 employees. And when we talk about an e-commerce platform, we're talking about a full-service solution, both in an open-source format and also in a cloud SaaS environment today as well, that offers merchants really the full gamut of services they need to launch their online store, to manage customers and orders, and to manage their entire business operations within one platform. And I'll echo what Yoav said about the event. It's fantastic to be here and just see how much interest there is in this space locally. So it's great work with the Plymouth team.
Do I need to present the company, or everything he knows about the company?
Maybe share some stats.
Recently, we are shifting and adapting a lot of new challenges and opportunities in the payment space. But Plymouth is a platform that can deal with payment, e-commerce, and marketing in one place. We were trying to take different businesses, specifically businesses that don't have physical goods needs, just digital goods needs, and we can help them to run the business in a very efficient way on the web. And every year we have new challenges, and we're trying to adapt those challenges to provide different solutions, because the payment is becoming more and more innovative, and there's a big influence on the innovation of the payment that goes back to the conversion that we heard different people talking about it today. As a Plymouth CEO, I see it as the main goal for the company to achieve the new changes in the market and to adapt them and allow different business model to companies that try to be innovative on the web. There's something that we also learned from Magento, which is trying to be as much as open as we can, so companies can come and look at the platform and build their businesses on top of our platform, and then they can focus on their business without thinking about how do we collect the money, how do we manage the subscription, and the whole flow. And I want to thank my friends here from left and right that together came to this conference and helped us make it successful.
My name is Eli Campo, and I'm from LivePerson. LivePerson is a software as a service company. What we do is we help our customers to increase the online conversion by identifying visitors that have an intent to buy and then engage with them in real time via chat or any other channel. As far as metrics, on average we increase conversion about 20%, average order value by 30%. We have more than 8,500 customers, and we're growing over 30% over the last years, and this year we're projecting to do more than 130 million in revenue.
Great, thank you. So now a few more, now we'll go into more specific questions. The first question is for both Roy and Avishai. You both use a freemium or open source type of offering, presumably to bring traffic and bring customers. How important has that been to building your business, and did you ever consider going straight to premium without any kind of a free offering? In particular, I'm sure there's some people in the audience who are wondering or often think that their product, they've invested so much time and energy in developing that product, they can't possibly give it away for free. They must sell it. What kind of advice would you give for those entrepreneurs?
So I think our business, the Magento business, is very, very different than the Wix business. Our business was primarily set up initially as an open source play, and as an open source organization, it is a freemium type model from the beginning. There's really no other option, especially when you choose an open source path. But it was a very clear path in our strategy to build an open source product and then create premium solutions on top of that. So I don't think we've had any choice but to give away the core product for free. I think one of our challenges, I think the biggest lesson for us and for me, was that our freemium product, our open source product, was actually too good. It still is very, very good. And that created a challenge in monetizing the premium services. So maybe a secret for all, don't make it too good. But it actually worked in our favor as well. By creating a very good open source free product, I think it created an incredible market opportunity for us and very steep growth as well.
Well, I think that we come at that from a very different angle, right? Wix is not an open source solution. We're software as a service. But I think for us, the free offering was working in a great way because it allowed us to grab market share. It allowed us to have people that know about Wix and they can try the product and can play with it, use the product in some ways. And in addition to that, when you build a free Wix site, it comes with small advertisement for Wix itself. And that's one of our biggest source of traffic. So our users are actually creating a huge marketing channel for us. Even more than that, the second huge portion of our traffic comes from referrals by people that play with Wix, tried Wix, and like the product. So that was where the free offering was working well for us. I think that the premium offering, on the other hand, allow us to have two things, right? Revenues, first of all, for the company, and which tends to make our VCs happy. In addition to that, it also allows us to gain capital, which we can utilize later and throw that capital again to marketing. So it actually allows us to grow faster than if we would have been only a free business. Because we get money from premium, and then we can market again and again and increase our marketing channels. I think that the biggest question for when you think about the freemium model is that, first of all, it's a great mechanism for growth because it allows you to capture free customer, convert them, have money for marketing and for conversion, and that's I think pretty much.
Let me just add one more thing. I think what's interesting and what we found out in the first year or two of the business was that and we're in an enterprise business. I think Wix is obviously in a different business, as I said. But one of the challenges that we had was that folks were actually merchants and brands and customers were actually not too excited about a free product. So they came to us and they said, we want to pay you money because that's what we do. We pay money for software. And the enterprise solution that we launched a year after releasing our open source free product was basically our way of saying, fine, we'll take a little bit of money. Because that's the only way for us to continue building an enterprise business in a way that enterprises are used to consume software.
I just have to say that we also had a very similar experience with consumers. There was a time when we were actually approached by people saying, hey, we want to pay you for the service. So in a lot of ways it was
So your customers actually helped define what the premium would look like.
Absolutely.
And how soon after launch of the free product did that occur? I mean, and did you ever wonder whether it would be kind of delayed indefinitely, or timing is probably also a big question on people's minds?
For us, it was immediate because we created something so innovative and new in a very stagnant industry, the open source e-commerce industry, that immediately enterprises started to see the potential that they had. The problem was when you have a developer or you have folks within an organization try to sell the solution internally, they can't go and say, I've got to check out this free thing. It just doesn't make sense for them. And they couldn't sell it to the CIO or the CMO in a way that was effective. So people came to us and they wanted to donate. They wanted to really pay money, real money. And that's what, as you said, it really shaped the product strategy very, very quickly. Okay,
thank you. So a question now for the other three members of the panel, which are also very focused on internet businesses, at times somewhat large internet businesses. The question is, how do you acquire your customers, and how has that changed over time as you've grown, as your customers, as the size of your customers have changed? I imagine grown over time. Maybe Hagai, you want to start?
I think I'll I'll take the example of Avishai and Roy. And when I look at their company from outside, I think the best marketing that they can do is basically give the product for free in the beginning. Okay, and the reason for that is because if you want to really run marketing, you want to really get clients and quality clients today, you need not just to give them the ability to touch the product and feel the product. You need to create some sort of an ecosystem around the people who use the product and let them share the information about how using the program, and also develop tools for them that they can build their businesses on top of your platform. And then once the ecosystem has been created, it's becoming very easy to get the customers, because one is bringing the other. And once you created that ecosystem and you focus on that ecosystem, you start to see the results. And the best quality clients that we have, at least, is people who brought us other people.
So happy customers bring other customers.
And I think that's the right approach in both cases, in the Wix cases and also in Magento, is because the ecosystem and the community created the buzz, and the right buzz, because their product is a good product. I want to say the same thing about our product, but that's the main reason why people are coming, why the people are using those platforms. And people need to realize that to do marketing on the web, it's a different concept. It's not the same way that you go to the newspapers or banners or whatever. You need to make it a good product and leverage on that.
If I remember correctly, your initial growth was almost entirely organic, word of mouth.
Organic.
You've since expanded it, however, to include somewhat of a sales force and probably paid acquisition marketing.
You're right, but still the majority of the clients are coming because of word of mouth, that people are talking to each other and saying, I used it and it solved my problem.
That's great. That's great. So, Eli, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your sales methodology and how that works in kind of an enterprise model, a SaaS enterprise model.
Yes, for us it's a little bit different story. Most of our leads are coming from online marketing, and then we have a team of online sales using our products to convert them, but that's for mainly small businesses and medium businesses. As we grow up to major enterprise, we started to have our own direct sales to be able to sell like big banks and big telcos. Then we needed really to go and meet them. And now as we're moving to, currently we focus mainly on US and UK, and as we're moving to more Europe and Asia, then we usually also resellers to basically expand our reach.
And you also have a large inside kind of telesales operation?
Yeah, we have a large inside telesales and also online sales that sells for most of our customers.
Okay. And Yoav, can you give everybody a sense of how your customer acquisition works?
Well, I think our lives are much easier than those guys. They're doing a much harder work. Our community is much, much smaller. And what started as I wouldn't say a deficiency, but it was a necessity for us not to take on too much at the beginning. So we kind of pushed back onto market and we said no free trials and only certain amount of projects at each and every time. Kind of resonated to the market as there is something cool here, etc. And Walmart was talking to Zappos, was talking to Sears, was talking to Target, and those clients started coming. And all of a sudden you see people move between Starco MediaVest, he goes to Sears, he goes to Orbitz, and you get all these inbound leads coming your way. And to date, Kensho has only 10 folks doing sales. We don't yet have any inside sales. We just recruited marketing. And it kind of evolved into tens of millions of dollars of business by just having a good product and a good reputation and making sure that you do it right. I totally think that we'll need to push that, the edge and move the needle a little bit in terms of generating those leads and being proactive. And we're starting to do it. But for us, it's a different ecosystem and a different market.
I just have to say that I think that you got it all wrong. You are doing much harder sales than at least we have.
We'll take it outside, I guess.
We have 0 salespeople.
Is there a self-service option? Can you just sign up for Kensho and start?
Yeah, Kensho is a self-service. When you mean self-service, is
if I'm interested in using your platform, regardless of who I am, I can sign up and become a customer and pay whatever the monthly.
So the answer for which is yes, but the average, the sweet spot of Kensho is a $12 million budget, kind of a customer, which means there are probably 10 to 20 folks on the other side, so it's a single contract, but 20 to 30 users and passwords. And so it's not really you sign up over the internet, it's a whole process, but it does happen fairly fast. I think on average the sales cycle is about 30 days, 30 to 45 days, even for those larger organizations.
Okay.
The answer is yes, but
It's a good answer. In terms of Eli and Yoav, in terms of how you position, maybe also for Chagai, when you give your sales pitch to the customers, I imagine you present some type of a return on investment type of pitch. What does that look like for your average customer? And is it about saving money or increasing revenues? And how has that changed over the last few years as you've grown your business?
It's a great question, and it really changed over the years. We started as mainly service, which is more customer experience and saving. But we realized soon enough that's a problem for us on the long term. And we moved from being a chat call center to leverage on intelligence and basically increase sales. So today the pitch and 80% of our revenue is coming from sales, which is incremental sales. And the metric is very simple. We increase 20% your sales and 30% your average ordered value. And from that you can do the math very easily.
That's great.
I think for us I think we made a mistake 10 years ago when we started, and we built too many features to the platform. So today when people are coming and say, I want to use your platform, it's because of each one of them have a different reason why they want to use it. Some people will say, I want to use it because you can solve me the problem in France. And some people will say, you're solving me the whole VAT problem that I have. And some people will say, because I'm using Plimus, I'm making more money. That is the main reason, but still there's a lot of different features, and we have a lot of clients that are coming to use us because of that one feature that we have. And we have the same issue when we're trying to go upscale to the bigger size of clients. We try to go ahead and attack with what exactly the problem for them, and because we have so many features, we go with that feature and say we can solve you that problem.
I think what we've seen is that having a purely value-driven message, basically saying I'm the cheapest, at least for a product like ours, which is the core business for many of the companies that we work with, doesn't go very far. And when you go and you pitch the product to an organization, it's very dangerous to simply rely on that. I think it's an incredibly powerful message, but it absolutely is not the core for a product that is really a core business solution that your customers will rely on. So we're the cheapest typically came after a few conversations, but the most important thing was that we could compete on an even playing field from a feature and capability and scalability standpoint, and not purely on price.
For us, it's a 10.54 is the return on investment you need to get against every dollar as a benchmark across our portfolio. So when we come in, the first question is, what do you get out of your search and social spend? And if you are below, and usually they are 3 to 5x below, then all right, there is room to grow. On the efficiency side, usually it's a 2x efficiency. So I think it's important to keep a healthy mix between the two. And I would say that a lot of the things we're seeing today is the lowering the barrier to entry for those folks. This industry is moving fast, the online marketing, and all of a sudden you have that software that helps you get people ramped up into a scalable operation without having to go via a 5 years affiliate black belt kind of marketing play. So it would be those would be the three pillars.
Okay. Great. Let's talk about pricing. We kind of touched on the move to premium and large customers. I imagine as each of you has grown its business and you've seen the customer mix change over time, you've toyed with the idea of changing your pricing model. to raise the average sale price or because of competition. Which of you has made a significant change, if any, or maybe some of you can give us some of your thoughts about why you did or did not, or I mean, obviously for companies with tens of thousands of customers like Plymouth and Wix, it's probably very tempting to make a very small change and see a dramatic shift in your business. But I imagine also for those businesses that take a transaction kind of fee, it's also very tempting. Whoever wants to start. Avishai?
Well, current pricing, the average price on Wix is $11, which is pretty much what most users pay. On average, we never change the price. In fact, in our market, by the way, we are the most expensive solution in our market. We tested prices a lot of times, and we found that we have 4 different packages, starting at $4.90 a month, $9.90 a month, then we have $14.90 a month, and then we have another one which is e-commerce, based on an average of $17.90. What we found is that we can play with prices to somewhat. There's some elasticity there. Of course, the more we move prices up, people tend to buy less. But I think there was an important part of our strategy was that we wanted Wix to be at the price where it's a no-brainer product. So we kind of had a limit when we wanted to have a product below $5 and a product below $10. And just in order for the right perception, so if you go to Wix, you don't have to think twice about buying it. Always a core part of our strategy, and it still is today. And so we never had a chance to actually go and reinvent a new pricing policy.
So have any of you successfully raised prices without Eli?
It's an interesting story because we didn't raise prices for like 7 years, and just last month we raised price by 10 to 20%. And there was a big excitement in the organization, and a lot of fear. But actually it went very well with very minimal friction, meaning there's always one person or one client that will call, but in general it went very well. And in my previous experience, which is shopping.com, I remember the same situation. Internally, we are more afraid to raise prices than our customers. And if you have a good product and you drive value, you can increase slightly prices in a sensitive way, but that's definitely a strategy that I would recommend.
So before I talk about pricing, we really have 2 businesses. One is the enterprise business, and one is what we call the SMB business. And on the SMB business, the market is being commoditized, so pricing is actually going down, not up. But on the enterprise business, an interesting anecdote here is that we originally released our enterprise product priced at $10,000 yearly. So it's a subscription-based enterprise product at $10,000. We raised it to $13,000 about a year ago, and that actually led to more business. And now we're offering an even premium product to the enterprise product that will be at about $50,000 to $80,000, and we have customers lined up for that as well. So again, it's a perception issue, at least in our enterprise business, where the more expensive you are, the better you are. And if you can reach that level of comfort, as I think we've gotten to, then there's a lot of opportunity. But that's the enterprise business. The interesting thing is that, again, on the SMB side, it's completely being commoditized to almost a $0 price tag. In fact, we're giving away not only our open source products for free, but we're really also giving away our cloud, our SaaS solution now for free as well.
Interesting. So you've had experience raising prices on one end and lowering it on the other. Okay.
I'll try to answer you from a different direction. Okay. I remember my days. I used to work for JDED for many years, and it's always an issue of should we raise price, should we keep the price, should we charge the men more, should we charge the woman more. It was always a challenge. What should be the right price? Remembering that every time we raise the price, there's no issue at all. And looking at that time compared to what's happening today, it is not just the price itself. It's a different direction in terms of how to convince the users to pay. So when I look at Apple, for example, with all the respect to what they do, in the end of the day, they collect credit cards and they make it very easy for you to buy again. So we buy stuff today for 99 cents that we would never ever believe that we will spend the money on that. So I'm also looking at even the Obama campaign online through PayPal. Because it was easy and accessible, people start to pay $10, $20 for the campaign. It was, I think, one of the biggest campaign. I'm looking at you because you're part of PayPal now, part of eBay. But it was one of the biggest campaign on the PayPal platform, just because it was very easy. So what we see now is we see a lot of trend of not just looking at the first transaction or the first payment itself, looking at this long-term strategy where we're saying, let's get the user information, let's get the financial identity of the user, let's keep the credit card, the bank account, whatever it is, and let's make it very easy for him to buy again. And I have to admit, as a user, that's the only reason why I buy on Amazon, just because it's easy. And I think pricing is still an issue, but because companies are coming with strategy, the strategy is let's make it easy for the first purchase so we can collect the financial identity of the user, and then we'll make it very easy for him to buy later on. And I think that's the changes I see when it comes to pricing. It's coming from a long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm. A question for Yoav and Eli, and maybe Roy as well. As you move to ever larger customers, did you find that your support organization had to grow much faster than you anticipated? In other words, was the expectation from customers just so high that you actually had to kind of adjust your overall assumptions regarding when the company will be cash flow break even or profitable? How has that changed, and what kind of lessons maybe have you learned from that?
So I would definitely say that the number one challenge that we have been facing over the last 2.5, 3 years is how to grow in line with the demand and what you can actually accommodate and stuff like that, and keeping the balance. Whatever we predicted before as we need to get ready for, we were surprised that we weren't as ready as we should have been. And even after making adjustments, we still see that we are falling behind. First, I think it's healthy for the company to be under power and all the times kind of having sharp instincts of what needs to be done, kind of made us focus on what matters and what is less important. I would say that the philosophy we have become comfortable with is when you grow a company, the metaphor that we use is this is a ladder. So you want to make sure that you're basing the top end on something really solid, then you want to get there. But then the number one thing you do is you make sure that that step you're going to be stepping on is stable. And it's not just the short term or the long term, but you better make sure that the short term, the existing, the present thing is going to be okay, and then you can climb on to the next one. And for us, the support organization has been an issue until a year ago. At this point, we feel that we kind of found the right balance. We always wanted to keep on the break-even, so we never got into a certain over-investment from the first day we have publicly launched the platform. We've been modest again about how much inbound projects we're taking, and we're just keeping that step by step, and just became a snowball effect in a positive manner that kind of made the company pretty stable and mature.
Yeah, so I think for us as well, support, if I look back and I share, I think, the point about the challenge that you made, it's absolutely challenging building, a world-class support organization at a very early stage in a company. And it took us 1.5 to 2 years to really get that down to almost a science now, where we feel our customers are supported at the level that we expect. If there's one investment that I would suggest you make, and that's part of our learnings, is in bringing in the right support leadership very early on. So even if you're not making the big investment in growing the team and operations, you really need a very early leader in the organization that understands the value and how to execute long-term, with a long-term vision on building a very, very successful support organization. We didn't do that. It was difficult. We played catch-up for a very long time. But that's, absolutely been the biggest challenge for us as well.
So Avishai, Hagai, I believe you guys do also have some type of a support organization, even though many of your customers, if not most of them, are very small, and it's hard to really maybe see the return on investment there. Can you tell us what your thinking is and how you look at your support organization? Do you feel it's effective?
Sure. I think that, with 30 million customers, we have a lot of questions coming our way. And a big part of what we had to learn, how to scale correctly, is the support organization. We found out that I think 1 of 4 people that will buy a premium service will ask a question before, for example, because that's always scaling up. And most of our thought was around the automation around support. How do we find it easier for people to find the answer? How do we find it easier for people to be able and find the tutorials, how to make videos that will explain the product? How do we get people empowered so they can find the answers for what they're looking for without us? And then after that, if it didn't work, how do we get them an answer that is very, very fast? The average time, I think, for support today on Wix is about, if you send an email, it's less than 6 hours. Most of the time it will be around 1 or 2 hours. And then also phone support. The average time, if you call to Wix for holding on the line, is about 24 seconds, I think. And the maximum length of holding on the line is about 2.5 minutes on a regular day.
I think also for us, the support is one of the challenges. If in Avishai's case, every 1 of 4 subscribers is starting to ask questions, and you do the math and you're saying, okay, for every 20 clients I need 1 sales rep, and then it goes along, and then something doesn't really make sense on an Excel file, right? So I think at the end of the day, if you break it down to pieces, you see that most people are asking the same questions. And now the challenge is how to deliver those questions back to an automated system that, if it's the same question, what's the point to ask it again and again? And I think it's still challenging for us, and we're also dealing with different languages and different type of people, and sometimes we deal directly with the programmer, sometimes we just deal with the marketing guy or the product guy, which is different answers to each one of them. But I think I'm going with the same concept that Wix and Magento and Plymouth is presenting here. And we took the challenge is to take those questions and move them back to the community. Because the community is basically the people who can answer those questions, because most of those guys are developing something and they already have challenges with the same questions. And as much we put more forms and more blogs, and we have more information to share with our users, those questions that's the way we reduce them. Okay? And we use the community to do it. And I think both my colleagues here will agree that that's the direction to do it.
Eli, I assume you use LivePerson?
We definitely use LivePerson. You cannot call LivePerson for support. You need to chat with us. It's interesting. We have 24/7. We do it all from Israel, from very small customers to very big enterprise, and to what my colleagues here said. On the small business, definitely the community is where we're trying to push in more and more content. And on the big enterprise, the one thing I would add to what my friends here said is, when you start to get the big enterprise and you're a small organization, every customer is big and you tend to do everything for that customer and serve him in whatever we will ask. At some point, you need to streamline the process, normalize, and start educating the enterprise customers. Otherwise, it can kill your operation, right? Because everybody will be on a fire drill mode. And that's a transition that, with the right leadership, I think can be done.
So maybe in a similar line of thought about how you scale the organization, I wanted to ask a question about infrastructure for those that are SaaS, those of you that are SaaS or have a big operations, not so much support, but rather the technical infrastructure. What experiences can you share with the audience of you've all experienced pretty much periods of hyper growth. Planning for that is very difficult. There are things you have to build in advance. There are things you really only react to. Any lessons to share of what you experienced and how you might have done it differently if you could do it again?
I can definitely name a few things that we've done very right and a few things that we've done very wrong. We learned the hard way that faster is not always faster. At the same time, just being there a lot of the time really matters. And, there is a cool statement I heard from my kids, and apparently they got it out of Kung Fu Panda rather than some educational blah, blah, blah. And this is, the past is history, the future is a mystery, and today is a gift. So this is why it's called the present. And I truly think this is what it's about. It's what you do today that matters for tomorrow. And I think you have to be very careful not to make mistakes that you will need to pay a lot in order to rectify later on. At the same time, just make sure that whatever you do is making progress each and every day. So if this is becoming a theoretical, demagogic kind of too much of a session, and there is a whole BI project in which you cannot accommodate, just stop it and call it a day and say, this is what we're going to do now. And yeah, we might invest double as much in order to rectify. But if it's about solid algorithms and you want to have the user interface in order to accommodate growth, then don't compromise. Make sure that everybody is doing what's needed in order to get it out the door. So that would be my experience.
Well, from our experience, I think what we learn is that, first of all, infrastructure fails. This is the simple truth, and it's always very frustrating. When you grow quickly, you learn that any kind of infrastructure, from the technical, server side, networks, to the operational of the company, to the support that we discussed before, will fail at some point. And it's always going to have always running around trying to upgrade and scale up. I think that but the choice is always between releasing a product, learning what is out there, testing, improving, and then knowing that you have to replace a lot of it, or the other alternative, which is developing for a much longer period. I would always take the first one, because I think being out there and working with the product helps you much more. You learn better, you know what's really important for your customer, and I think the most important thing you can do as a company is to focus on what's important. And the best way to learn what's important, what makes the critical difference, is actually to put things outside. So I think that we had a lot of growth issues, and there were times where we actually had to stop or slow down our marketing in order not to have all of a system crash. But I think that if there's one thing that I can look back and say is that we never release things quickly enough. I would probably release things faster if I could, and improve the infrastructure as I go.
I mean, would you say that the services nowadays, the infrastructure services and the tools available to you are improving the lives of companies that are perhaps now starting? I mean, do you think it's going to be, when you started and scaled your operations, it was perhaps a little bit premature in terms of the third-party services that can help and support you? Or do you think, no, it's just it's a constantly moving target in terms of infrastructure?
You're asking about cloud services, for example?
Cloud services, and even internal tools for managing your own very scalable databases, whether,
I think it is. When we started, a lot of the things that we had to build ourselves were things that you can actually go around and buy today and use as a service. So I think Plimus is a great example, right? We had to build a lot of things around billing, and today you just go around and you can just grab a billing system, which of course can scale much more than anything we can have. So I think the answer to that is obviously yes, and I think it's going to go, and it's a process that will continue to grow and to be simpler to build scaling, a system that scale based on pre-made products.
So for us it was a model of risk, right? We knew we needed to grow fast. We always felt that we were in a race and we need to make quick decisions. And the way that we we played to that was that we simply empowered our leadership to make those decisions quickly. And we were not scared or terrified of making the wrong decision, but oftentimes we made decisions very, very quickly because we knew that we needed to make progress and do so very efficiently. You mentioned a very good point about building versus buying. I think what we learned early on is that we know how to do one thing well, and that is develop Magento. We don't know any other thing. We don't want to be in any other business in terms of developing internal tools, internal technologies. So very, very quickly in the beginning, we said we do not build anything internally, we buy. And we went on a shopping spree, and we bought the best that we could in order to have the infrastructure in place to build the scale. So we invested very early on in Salesforce and marketing automation and billing, and those are things that will pay off very, very quickly once you understand how much risk you're taking onto the organization if you begin to build a lot of these assets which look which may often be perceived as very cheap by building them in-house, but at the end of the day, you end up supporting them and taking additional risk on the business.
I've got a question about international expansion. I think all of you have customers that span the globe, but presumably you all started with English-speaking, if not U.S. customers. What are some of the unexpected challenges that you encountered as you grew your business and dealt with non-English speaking customers? Perhaps it was a language issue, cultural, or more on the infrastructure side, whether it's availability or billing or something else. Anything you can tell us that I know Avishai has some stories.
I think we can start with the name. We kind of learned that Wix in Germany is the word for doing sex with yourself, which is not really a good thing, right? It's masturbation, so it's kind of not really a good name in German. But beyond that, I think that as you move globally, you realize that English is well spoken in English-speaking countries and Israel. Beyond that, most of the world needs the product to be translated to their products. If you look at the French, even if they speak English, they don't want to speak it. If you look at South America, nobody speaks English. Germany, you're going to have very few people that speak English. And then you have huge challenges, which is, of course, billing. Billing works completely differently in every one of those countries. And so I think moving internationally is a lot of challenges, a lot of operational challenges. You need support in the right language, translating the product, but also great benefits. The competition for advertisement in other countries is less fierce than the English-speaking countries. It's easier to do it. South America and Eastern Europe are now exploding, growing at a rate of speed which is incredible. And a lot of them are countries where people have money and are happy to pay and use the internet and are very smart consumers. So those are great markets. I think the benefits are enormous also.
For us, maybe different aspect beside, the product being ready, globalized, and beside, being in the market for sales, we have also the aspect of the labor, which is attached to the product. And in different geographies, it's different cost structures. So different pricing became different issues. And also, one of the things that we're facing, because we store content, is privacy laws. So we need to have data centers in specific market to address the specific, European privacy laws versus American versus others. So that's for people that store content with big enterprise, that could be an issue.
I think for the way we see it is it's a big challenge to be global business. It's a big challenge for us to be able to collect money in every country, in every payment method, any language. This is a nightmare. But at the same time, it's a nightmare. This is the biggest value that we can bring. So today, when you're starting to sell a product, you want to sell it globally immediately. You want to be able to get customers all over the world in one platform. And although it is a difficult task for us to get to, it is one of the biggest added value that we can provide, is because no one really wants to start a different relationship in different country and different states and be able to deal with all those entities and VAT and taxes. People want to have one platform that can solve the whole international challenges, and in order for us to be able to provide that, There's so many effort that we have to put in the back end, but in the end of the day, the value is huge. Avishai and I, for example, right now have a big challenge in Brazil. How do we take the money from the local people in Brazil? And we know it's a challenge, but once we solve the challenge, it's going to bring a big value, not just for Wix, but also for Plymouth, because now Plymouth can go ahead and solve the problem in Brazil, and then goes to Argentina and Chile and other countries in South America, which is the new growing market. Specifically for all of us, that we all Israelis in the end of the day, no one is aiming for the local market. So from day one, we look globally. We don't just see the US market, we look globally. And I know, so for my plan and also from Avishai's plan, I want to go segment by segment, growing each
Would you say that
language.
being an Israeli startup or an Israeli entrepreneur made you perhaps more attuned to the international market opportunity, and did that help you guide product development and organization? Do you think that's perhaps an advantage that companies in Israel
I see us as
have?
I think we are lucky. And the reason why we're lucky is, I'm talking about Plymouth, I think we're lucky because 15% of our clients are local Israeli companies. And they are basically helping us to set up the roadmap for the company. They're basically saying, hey, guys, something is happening and it's going to happen in a year time, and I need you to help me to deal with it. And in the end of the day, what the Israelis are sharing with us, it's exactly what will happen in the market in the next year or two anyway. And they help us to see the trend that's coming over. They help us to identify what we need to build in our roadmap. And I think we are lucky to be in connection with those people, so they can really help us to find the right direction how to build a company, which is a challenge to all of us. What's the next step? What feature we touch? And we're lucky because the local guys are basically not afraid to call us and say, I need this feature. I need you to build me this. In most cases, they're right, because they know what they want. And that's the added value that we have from this local community here.
I would definitely say that Israeli entrepreneurs must think global from day one. I truly think this is one of the assets that we hold. Taking a not very political correct kind of example is, it's like fighting wars. So in the US, they are used to fight outseas. So they have all this methodology of how do you fight overseas, etc. In Israel, we fight local. On the business side, this is totally the opposite. All the US competitors, all those other companies developing technology, they are used to think US, local, etc., etc. And for us, we have to go outside because the market is outside. So you must use that as an advantage, and it's okay to decide not to do something. And yes, when you grow, it's a lot about what you not do rather than what you do. But just make sure that you think openly about the opportunity, you understand the market, you understand the competition, and use it in your favor. And most of the time, it happens pretty well.
Okay. I think we're about finished, so I want to thank all the panelists for today's participation. Your answers were super interesting, even for me, and I know many of you quite well. So thank you very much, and good luck with continuing to build huge businesses. Thank you.